So I was trying to find a way to program, like use one of these little, like thumb drive sized devices as an indicator light or something else on my PC, but I really didn't want to have to download firmware to it and play with it and then write a driver program, because that means I got two programs, and two is a lot more than one. It's like double as many programs. And it turns out somebody suggested I try this thing called Belay, and it lets you run Python on your desktop or server, whatever you want to put it on, and it will you can tag parts of your Python code to get downloaded to your device. And so I can just run Python on my desktop and it'll actually program my device on the fly. And then when I terminate the desktop program, the device stops. Now, you normally don't want that if you're doing like a freezer controller, but for what I'm doing, it's perfect. So in my case, I'll put the URL out here in the video, but basically I've got a main program, which is super tiny, right? Like this thing's really tiny. We just new up the device connection, and that actually initializes the board and downloads my device. It downloads my code down to that, this Trinkey Neo, right? And then I can just drop into a while loop and look. So this one's got 2 capacitive touch sensors on it and 4 neopixels, and basically from the PC, I'll just sit in a while loop and it'll work the touch buttons, and then it'll display color, and it'll stay in a standard color pattern. And when you touch it, it changes the color because the tri-touch knows you want to do that. And it'll also send keystrokes to because this thing's a human interface device keyboard. Whenever I touch it, it'll actually send a keyboard to do a lock screen. Or the other one was to do Control-Alt-Delete, which I think I'll demo because the lock screen's a pain. Like you can type your password in and stuff. So this is it. This is actually what I'm going to run on my desktop. So this is it here. Can I make that bigger? That is only marginally useful. Yeah, let's see. Okay. So all I'm going to do is run Python 3 main to Belay, which is this program you see here. Right? That's it. And then I'm just going to tell it I'm on COM12, and it's going to run this program. And then it's going to download this code to the device. Any of these task things are going to get downloaded, and then I can call them as if they're on my desktop. So let me just show you. So, all right. So right now, it runs about, 100 cycles a second. Yeah, 100 cycles a second, about 80 cycles a second. And it did about 600 when it was all on the device. So now we're communicating over the serial port, and in this true loop, it's going to be calling device.try-touch. That's a call to the remote side, and when that thing's done, it's going to come back and down again. So that's a lot more overhead than being on the device. So if you got to do some real-time control thing, if you got to get more than 100 a second or more than 50 a second, a lot of it will depend on what output you have here. This thing's pretty minimized. I'm not giving it any parameters. So if you need fine control, you put that code down on the device, but you can invoke that whenever you want. You can read values back, which I don't do here. And let me just show you that this keystroke thing works. So, oh, that was bad. You know what? That's not bad. Whatever. Yeah, that's it. That demo got a hack. So you can see it's just running through this pattern here. Man, that's hard. And then if I hit this is going to be Control-Alt-Delete to get the lock screen. And so it's turned to light yellow, which is just like a previous demo I had. And when I let up, it's going to do Control-Alt-Delete. Now I hit the escape key and you get the screen back, right? So this pattern you can see here, that is that color tick. Every one of those is a color tick, and it has a delay loop in there. It's 100 cycles for every time this go through. So it's 100 calls. Actually, 200 calls. 100 calls to the touch and 100 calls to the tick. That's 200 remote calls over the serial link. And 25% of those are in each one of these 4 patterns. And when I hit this, it sits in the touch loop on the microcontroller. My PC is just waiting for a reply at this point. And then when I let up and it gets bright and it starts running the pattern, that's it making those calls again, right? So every one of these patterns, it's making 100 calls per loop. So that's like 25 calls per pattern. And that's that. And so that's pretty cool. Let me just show you real quick. I'll leave that running. let me pick this. So this is actually on the GitHub repo for this. Not a lot of code here, really tiny, and it's kind of cool. I just kind of did a little code on the beast, and then those like 4 lines of code to 8 lines of code on the PC. So on startup, it initializes my device. What that does is it executes to set up a global scope. It basically takes this code in the my Trinkey functions.py, and it downloads them in the global scope and executes them. The next thing it does is it finds all the task definitions, and it takes any of those task def. You know, I want to put a task in that, and all those task defs, and it downloads them to be callable, and then it drops into a run loop, and in that run loop, it basically calls try touch to run the 2 touch sensors, and then it calls color tick to increase the tick so it knows what pattern to do, and it just loops around that, and that's it. So it's super cool and easy. Of course, I think a lot of things are cool. And then that's in this repo right here, right there. So that's it. 6 minutes, way too long. I hope you get a chance to play with this Belay Python thing, and you can hack up this program to work with your board. I thought of doing it with a Raspberry Pi 2 with a NeoPixel stick, but you know what? Let's just stick with this. Get it? All right.